But Mark, we got all this volatility. What's happening? The third thing that happened that's different is the paper market for Bitcoin got very, very large. And this happens in commodities. Again, you've been doing this a long time. You've seen lots of examples of the gold market in London for years has been spoofed, right? You see all this money printing around the world, but gold prices didn't seem to move. Why? People like JP Morgan, and I can use their name because they got fined $1 billion 3 years ago. Think about that. They got fined $1 billion for spoofing gold. Well, what does that mean? It means they sell paper gold in the market to push price down, and then they can be long actual gold or gold ETFs, and they can arbitrage profit. And they made $20 billion doing this. Now, you're not supposed to do it. You're not supposed to go naked short, so you get fined. And they're like, we made $1 billion. I mean, we made 20 billion. We paid $1 billion. That's the cost of doing business. We'll do that all day long. I would do that all day long. Now, I don't like to break rules because I'm a dutiful firstborn. So I'm not going to do it. And I don't have the capital base that JP Morgan has either. But now that's happening in Bitcoin. Very quietly, and nobody's talking about this, very quietly on the same day that the Bitcoin ETFs were approved, the CME approved a whole host of new derivative contracts on Bitcoin. And what it allows is for paper Bitcoin to be created. And everybody thought that the ETFs were going to be so great because it was going to increase demand for actual spot Bitcoin. Because a year earlier, when the futures ETFs were approved, all you were able to buy was the futures contract. There was no change in the demand for spot Bitcoin. And so the price didn't move because there was no demand for actual Bitcoin. Well, this is actually worse than that, because now with all of these futures contracts, the big players can push the price down because, let's think about this. Who is going to be the big buyer of spot Bitcoin in the new ETF world? Oh, these big institutions like BlackRock, et cetera. Well, if they want to buy a bunch of something, would they like to pay a high price or a low price? A low price. So, age-old thing, and again, this goes back to my time, just being an old guy. Soros, Robertson, Steinhardt, if they wanted to buy a lot of something, they didn't go out and buy it. They actually sold it, or even went short it and told everybody they hated it. And just one famous, I love this story. So Dwight Anderson worked for Julian, and he did this big report on why they should buy copper. And he went in, and Julian said, "Oh, okay, that sounds like a good. All right, go sell 50 million of copper." And Dwight's like, "No, my report says buy copper." He says, "Well, I know, but I want you to go sell 50 million short, and then tell everyone on the street that we hate copper, and then we'll buy $500 million worth of copper." So I think that's what's going on right now, is you got all these big guys shorting, and you see it just about every night in the way the futures move versus the spot price.
Okay. Which is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
This ETF was approved just about a week ago now, and I think a lot of people are trying to understand what it ultimately means. JP Morgan, I imagine if you were a client of JP Morgan, you could call your broker and say, get me some of this ETF. Mm-hmm. What are you telling your brokers to tell them back when they make that call?
Yeah. So this is an important thing. This is the last time I've ever talked about this in CNBC. Okay, so help me God. Blockchain is real. It's a technology. We use it. It's going to move money. It's going to move data. It's efficient. We've been talking about that for 12 years, too, and it's very small. Okay, so I think we've wasted too many words in that. Cryptocurrencies, there are two types. There's a cryptocurrency which might actually do something. Think of a cryptocurrency as an embedded smart contract in it, and that we can use it to buy and sell real estate and move data. That may have value.
The idea of tokenizing things.
Tokenizing things that you do something with. And then there's one which does nothing. I call it the pet rock, the Bitcoin or something like that. And so on the Bitcoin, there's, first of all, and I'm not trying to make a joke here. There are use cases, AML, fraud, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, sex trafficking. Those are real use cases, and you see it being used for hundreds, maybe 50, $100 billion a year for that. That is the end use case. Everything else is people train among themselves. So
speculate.
Yeah. Now, okay. Now, my last statement, the last time I ever talk about Bitcoin, is I defend your right to do Bitcoin. I think, it's okay. I don't want to tell you what to do. So my personal advice would be don't get involved. But I don't want to tell any one of you what to do. It's a free country.
So Dwight Anderson worked for Julian, and he did this big report on why they should buy copper. And he went in, and Julian said, "Oh, okay, that sounds like a good. All right, go sell 50 million of copper." And Dwight's like, "No, my report says buy copper." He says, "Well, I know, but I want you to go sell 50 million short, and then tell everyone on the street that we hate copper, and then we'll buy $500 million worth of copper." So I think that's what's going on right now. Is you got all these big guys shorting, and you see it just about every night in the way the futures move versus the spot price.